So in a world of neon Instagram cakes and mirror glazes and all sorts of things, sometimes you just need a really gorgeous bake that is homemade and very simple and totally delicious.
Hi, I'm Donal and welcome to the channel.
I've been creating easy meals that make your life a little bit easier in the kitchen for over 10 years now. But this channel is all about a little slice of our family life and home cooking. I'll be showing you how to get the most out of your kitchen to next level your dishes for maximum flavor. So stick around, hit that subscribe button and let's get cooking.
Guys, today we are making a beautiful, moist and dense limoncello polenta cake. It is bringing sunshine from the Amalfi coast in Italy and making our lives a little bit more summery, despite the fact that the weather is not really great here in Ireland. So, very easy cake to make. Let's get cracking. Now, the reason we're making this cake is that myself and Sofie have just celebrated 5 years married. And when we went on our honeymoon in the Amalfi coast, limoncello is the drink of choice. You see it all the time in restaurants around the Amalfi coast. We spent a gorgeous few days in Ravello, Sorrento. We went down to Capri. We did this beautiful boat trip to Capri. And one of the things that came up all the time was limoncello. Now, if you're making this cake, you do not have to add limoncello. We're gonna add loads of lemon zest, which is gonna give you that brightness. But if you add it, it's just gonna add a little bit of booziness. And sometimes as a parent, I need a little bit of booziness in my life. So the first job we need to do is weigh out our dry ingredients. The beautiful thing about this is that it is a gluten-free recipe, especially if you're using gluten-free baking powder. You only need a few dry ingredients. So we've got some polenta and some ground almonds, which we need to weigh out now. Now, the beauty of one of these sorts of polenta cakes is that they're quite dense, and that makes it the perfect vehicle for adding a little bit of booze. So I have all the dry ingredients. We've got ground almonds, we've got the baking powder and the polenta. So next up is the butter, and we're gonna add the sugar. So in with the butter and in with the sugar. So really important when you're making this cake that the butter is soft before you start. Otherwise it makes your life a lot harder when it comes to mixing it up together. So butter, sugar, dry ingredients. Essentially, once, with a cake like this, it's great to have everything kind of laid out and ready to go. So job now, you could do this with an electric beater, but I'm clearly a glutton for punishment. So I'm gonna go in there with this whisk, and we're just gonna whisk this until the butter is really soft and the sugar is like amalgamated, and you get this sort of light and fluffy mix that's ready for our eggs. Kind of regretting doing this with a whisk. I definitely should have done it with a mixer, but it does prove that with very little kitchen equipment you can make a decent cake. You just might have an arm muscle that you win arm wrestling competitions with. So once you're at this stage, now it's time to add in our eggs. And the trick with adding the eggs into this mixture so that it doesn't split is we're adding 3 eggs, so you're adding 1 at a time and mixing really well between each addition. Okay, we're in a good place now. So we've got a nice buttery, sugary, eggy mixture. This is the perfect bones for a lot of cakes, but this is where we take it in a different direction. This is where we add our dry ingredients. So I'm gonna add in all our dry ingredients, the polenta, the ground almonds, and the baking powder. And then it's just a case of grabbing up a spatula and folding this through. Now the great thing about this cake is that there's no flour in it, so it means that you don't have to worry about over mixing it so that your cake becomes a little bit stodgy. So instead you have a very kind of thick mixture. I mean, it doesn't look like a pretty cake mix, but I promise you this is going to give you an altogether different cake. And once you have this nicely folded through, it's time to get in there with the zest of 3 lemons. This recipe is actually based on an orange polenta cake I've been making for years, but I really like the idea of incorporating lemon zest and limoncello. I can tell you the minute you start zesting this into the bowl, it's just that eruption. The essential oils from the lemons start going into the air, goes up your nostrils, and it's doing good things in the kitchen right now. And you can imagine when you start adding limoncello, it just becomes this really vibrant and kind of light cake, even despite the fact that it's got ground almonds and polenta and it's quite dense. It just feels light and it feels fresh. And this served with some creme fraiche is probably the best thing in the world, and it's a real summer dessert, so it's a perfect one for these summer months. Okay, a lot of lemon zest, and now it's time for the secret ingredient, the not so secret ingredient in this cake, 6 tablespoons of limoncello. And I know there'll be people asking whether or not you have to use this. You do not have to use this, but it does add another kind of layer to the cake. The lemon zest is fine just as it is, but 6 tablespoons are going in, and maybe a few more if I'm feeling lucky. the minute that bottle opens. Woo! It's boozy, but it has this really ridiculous kind of citrus sweetness that just kind of counterbalances the alcohol in here, and I just get excited the minute I start adding it to a cake. So let's fold this through and get it into the oven. Okay, this is looking pretty good now. I've poured it into a baking tin with a removable base. This is a 20 centimeter baking tin and there's a bit of parchment paper at the bottom. This is now going to bake off at 180 degrees Celsius in a preheated oven, and it's going to bake for about 40 minutes or until like a skewer comes out clean when you insert it, and that's a good way to know that it's done. Also, a nice golden brown color on top helps. Now, the cake is lovely as it is, but to finish it off and give it that kind of extra finishing touch, it's to pour over a beautiful limoncello syrup. And to make that, we need 2 lemons. I've got some caster sugar and a little bit of limoncello because we kind of need a little bit more booze in there. So all these ingredients go into the pot, we get them onto the heat and bubble it up until you have a nice syrup that's ready to be poured over the hot cooked cake. So we have cooked cake and we have beautiful syrup. So now it's time to bring this all together by piercing the top of the cake with a wooden skewer. Now you're doing this so that there's little holes for that syrup to soak all the way through to give you a lovely moist interior. Now I'll be honest with you, this cake is not going to win any like awards for beauty, but it's not about the beauty in this scenario, it's about the taste, and the taste is phenomenal. So little holes all the way over, and then you're just going to take that syrup and gently pour it all the way in to catch all those little holes. So basically this job is about getting the cake a little bit drunk, and you can take your time with it until you have all that syrup incorporated. And the great thing about this is that you just get left with this really moist interior. Like I said, it doesn't look like much right now, but this is the finishing touches. So we need a little bit of icing sugar, and I'm just going to take like a teaspoon or so of that into a sieve, pop that over the top. And it just gives you that kind of lovely finish. It kind of reminds me of those gorgeous Italian biscuits you get in Italian bakeries. It's not about the prettiness here. It's about just really sweet and flavorful cake. There's a great Italian biscuit called brutti me buono. I'm sure I've butchered the Italian, as many Italians will tell me. Brutti me buono. I think it means ugly but beautiful. So there's specific cookies in Italy that are known for just how ugly they are, but the flavor is absolutely beautiful, and they're one of my favorite Italian biscuits. So that's kind of what we're going for here. Ugly but beautiful inside, kind of like myself. Last touch, a little bit of lemon zest just over the top to finish it. So in a world of neon Instagram cakes and mirror glazes and all sorts of things, sometimes you just need a really gorgeous bake that is homemade and very simple and totally delicious. So let's do the honors and dive right into the center here. Should be, yeah, it cuts beautifully because it's just so moist inside. I'm gonna take a nice little slice here. And it might look quite dark on the outside, but because you've got the polenta in there, you're gonna get really electric, kind of yellowy color on the inside. Look at that. Moist and dense and all the things you want it to be, and filled with gorgeous limoncello. So straight onto a plate. And you can serve it just as it is, but a lovely little finishing touch is some creme fraiche just dolloped over the top. It's really not sweet, and it just kind of gives that cooling element that's really gorgeous with this cake. So pop that on. Come on, like that's the sort of cake I want to dive into, especially to celebrate my honeymoon. Sorry, our honeymoon. Sophie always reminds me that it's our honeymoon, not my honeymoon, but you know. So, in honor of our honeymoon, a little bit of limoncello cake to celebrate that great Italian ingredient. Ah, bellissimo, fantastico, all the other cliche Italian words. That is so gorgeous. And you know, sometimes polenta cakes can be quite kind of dry, but the addition of the little bit of syrup over the top, that's what just makes it so sweet and moist and dense and gorgeous. There you go, a really simple cake to make. I hope it brings some sunshine into your life. The recipe, as always, will be in the box below. Make sure you check out the website for more details. And that's it. All you gotta do now is go make the cake, enjoy, and celebrate a bit of Italy in your life.